Hey, we want to welcome you to our podcast today, Rhema Seed TV. I'm your host, Don Boyer.
And I'm Melinda Boyer.
And we are so happy and glad that you joined us. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been a place in your life where you just wanted to quit? Where you wanted to throw in the towel and give up? Well, I think we all have. That's the subject we're going to be talking about on this podcast. We'll be right back. So when we talk about giving up, when we say that we want to give in and throw in the towel, we've had our opportunities to take advantage of that.
Many times.
Yes. And it's such an interesting topic. What are your thoughts on that?
One of the things is, one, where are you going, and are you going in the right direction, right?
Yeah.
And as we were talking, it's always, maybe you just need to tweak it a little bit. Maybe you need to change things out. Maybe you need to get rid of people.
Well, yes. Hello. When we're talking about these kind of subjects, there's such an array of ways we can go down. But you had mentioned something earlier when we were talking, and we talked about purpose, because we did a podcast on purpose. And when we have our purpose, it is one of the greatest antidotes to rejection.
Oh.
Because if we're going to do something, I don't care if it's in ministry or business or in life, you're going to have critics. You're going to have people that are not happy for you.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to celebrate your success. And they're going to have a form of rejection.
Yeah, and that's interesting you say that, because the majority of the people who go through that will give up.
Yeah.
Will give up, knowing that that is something that is truly in their heart, and intuitively they know that that's where they need to be, right? But because we listen to the naysayers that are out there, it defeats our whole purpose.
Yeah.
It defeats where we're really going. And I think that one of the things that we need to realize is, what is our purpose, and are we really heartfelt on that purpose, right? That
direction, yeah.
Oh, that direction, absolutely. And it's interesting because, we watched Joseph the other day, and I was watching that, and he had that in his heart. He knew where he was going.
Yeah, exactly.
He knew that he was going to be somebody. And he could have given up. I mean, look at what his brothers did to him, right?
He was thrown in the pit, sold as a slave.
Yeah.
Then even when he got into Egypt, he got into Potiphar's house, and God blessed him. Yeah. He was falsely accused by Potiphar's wife.
Right. And I think there's so many things in the Bible that you see that.
Yeah.
Right? Where people can easily just leave their whole purpose behind, right? But I think their whole focus of where they're going in life had never left their eyes, and they prayed to God all the time, right? And it was really interesting because I went into Luke 11:8, and it says, "But I tell you this, though he won't do it for friendship's sake, if you're knocking long enough, he will get up and give you whatever you need because of your shameless perseverance and persistence."
Yeah.
Right? So it was interesting that if you're looking for that and you're constantly continuing going for it, eventually it's going to be given to you.
Yeah.
But so many people, by the second or third defeat, they're ready to throw their hands up and give up.
Sometimes even more than that. I mean, people get excited. 100% of people get excited. They get involved in network marketing.
Yeah.
And they're going to conquer the world until they hit the first person they talk to about it,
and they
get rejected. Right. Then they're out of the game, right?
Yeah.
They're done.
Yeah.
But rejection is going to come no matter what we do.
Yeah.
But when we have our purpose like Joseph, it doesn't matter what the naysayers say. It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter what our physical eyes see. We have the ability and the strength to go on and not give up, even though we want to give up. Yeah. And, we always have the devil on our shoulder, always telling us, you ought to just give up. You ought to quit. They're like Job's friends. Yeah. Man, just curse God and die.
Yeah. And that's one of the things, too, that I really found in Hebrews 12:1. Who are you hanging out with, first of all?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, who are you surrounded yourself with. Because if you're surrounded around positive people who believe in you and can do it, you're going to eventually do it.
Right.
And just recently, our son had been studying for a state test.
Yeah.
Right? For the past 3 years.
Which was a very difficult test to do.
Very difficult test for him. And I think he failed it maybe 5 or 6 times. But he was not giving up.
Right. He was persistent.
Very persistent. Kept studying, kept going back into the books. But he surrounded himself also with people who believed in him and said that he could do it, right? And finally passed his test. And he's so proud of it. He even texted me yesterday with this picture on this thing, his whole badge, and he goes, I just can't stop looking at this. But he was persistent enough and believed that he could do it and sought through it and did everything that he could, and he stayed away from the naysayers who said that he couldn't do it.
Yeah, you have to cut off the line of discouragement that people will tell you.
Yeah.
On the other side of the spectrum, because this is what we do in our shows, is we really want to deep dive into things. We kind of look at areas, though, sometimes we get into that point because of our own selves.
Yeah.
In fact, far too many times.
Yeah.
And somebody told me a long time ago that working hard on things that don't work won't make them work. So sometimes we have to step back and not just evaluate the situation or get discouraged and say, I want to give up and I want to quit. We have to begin to ask the Holy Spirit, show me what I'm not seeing.
Absolutely.
Help me find an area that I might be missing.
Yeah.
Now, everybody has what's called a scotoma. Scotoma is a word that psychologists use for blind spot. Makes you sound intelligent, right? A scotoma. You got a scotoma.
No, you just can't see.
Right, but you just can't see. So when we look at these areas, the fact is that when people come and tell us that it can't be done, someone said one time, a long time ago, said that criticism is nothing more than the death gargle of an underachiever.
Wow.
When we were doing our first movie, Power Mentorship, and we spoke with Bob Proctor and Vic Johnson at their event, and we opened it up for questions after. Somebody said, one of the questions that came in was, how did you guys do a full-fledged movie from beginning to end with the red carpet at a major theater in 9 months?
Yeah.
And my response came without even thinking was it never dawned on us that we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So you can do what you can't do if you don't know you can't do it.
Right.
But when it comes down to wanting to give up, that's never the answer. Maybe we have to, like you said, get rid of some people, get rid of some things. We definitely have to get rid of some thinking, because if what we're doing is not working,
right.
we have to be honest with ourselves. And that's not easy.
Yeah.
One of the areas that we have learned now, after 23 years, is that in our ministry, I've watched, let me retract here. I've watched very successful ministers that were operating in their call, one of the fivefold ministries: apostle, prophet, evangelists, pastors, and teachers. Fivefold ministry. And they would build a worldwide, global ministry with millions of followers and create a multi-million-dollar ministry, only to watch them in their latter years now, whether it was because they were tired or they were fatigued or whatever the case might be, all of a sudden now moved out of that office and moved into another office. For instance, I noticed one individual that operated in the office of an evangelist and teacher and built a worldwide ministry all over the world for many years, very successful. Then at the end, he decided that he was going to go into pastor a church. It was disastrous.
Wow.
Yeah, it was lost everything. And there are many people that operate that way, and they could blame it on the devil, they could blame it on a lot of different things. And they kept going and going and going. Instead of things getting better, it just got worse.
Yeah.
And then when I look back at our ministry, I realized that the ministry that we do now, is we are in perfect alignment with that calling. which is the teaching ministry of the fivefold ministry.
Right.
When we operated in any other part of that ministry, it was a disaster for us.
Yeah.
It was a struggle, right? You just couldn't figure out. I used to say, "Why are people so stupid?" But I realized it was me. It was me.
Yeah.
We were operating out of ignorance. But once we got into this flow,
Yeah.
into our teaching ministry, now everything goes smoothly.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that because, I think sometimes that's why I think people need to stop, and pay attention. Are you really doing this correctly? Are you really in your calling?
Right.
Right? Are you really doing what you are here to do? And sometimes God will give us signs. He'll be tapping on your shoulder saying, "Hey, you're going in the wrong direction," and we're not paying attention.
Exactly. We just have a numb ear to him.
Yeah. And we just met with somebody that I just couldn't. You could see this man just full of favor,
Right.
with the Lord, and sometimes you are so blinded to that, even though you're walking in His grace. Sometimes you're not realizing that He's giving you everything that you already need, and people want more.
Yeah, and I one of the things made me trigger my thought was Apostle Leroy Thompson, which is our covering.
Yes.
And we're part of his ministerial association. He's now moving and talking about how the church is shifting from just a pastoral model
yeah.
to an apostolic model.
Yes.
Where the apostolic model embraces all five ministry gifts.
Yes. Yes.
Not just a pastoral gift.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of times in the past, because we've been stuck on the pastoral gift only,
Yeah.
we have neglected those other gifts.
Yeah.
But the Bible said that Jesus gave these five gifts for the growth of the church.
Well, it's interesting you say that, right? I knew about the 5 gifts, right? I knew about the different ministries that are out there, but I think the majority of people who have churches, I think, try to go into that pastoral, and they're not, just like what we did.
Right.
Right? And then you realize this is not working, and why isn't it working? And I think that the pastoral one, which I thought it was funny after I realized that, oh my gosh, you're not a pastor, right? You're a teacher.
Right.
Right? But I was trying so hard to have you, baby, you need to talk to the people.
I don't want to talk to these people.
You need to be nice to them. You need to help them. But that's a pastoral.
Right.
Right? And I didn't realize that until later. And I was like, you are still helping people. You are still helping people with the gift of teaching. But there's such a difference between a pastoral gift
Office, yeah.
and the office and the teaching office, right? There's such a difference. And when you start to realize what that difference is, and it's just 2 different areas. So, I think people who are out there who are not in the ministry but are following in God's gifts, I think you just need to hone down to figure out what is that gift and what does that mean?
There's been a concept for years within the church that God's going to make you do what you don't want to do. And you watch ministries and people in business, and they're miserable because it's such a struggle, and they think that's because the devil's opposing them. But the fact is, God's not going to ask you to do anything that you don't want to do,
Yeah.
or that you don't like, or that you're not gifted to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we look at this area, and I know we're coming close to the end of the show, when we come to the area of persistence and not giving up, I think the key factor that we all need to look at is, are we on purpose?
Yeah.
Are we doing what we're called to do? And how do you know that? Because it becomes natural, it becomes fun, it becomes enjoyable. It's something that you love to do. That's how we really know that we are walking in what we're designed to do.
Yeah. Well, in Ephesians 6:18, I found this morning, and I thought, I was like, oh my gosh. It says, pray in the Spirit at all times and on every occasion. Stay alert and be persistent in your prayers for all believers everywhere. And I thought that was it just hit my spirit, because I'm like, you need to pray for every occasion that you're going through. One of the things that I know that I do for us is, before we go into meetings, before we go into big events, or if we're going to speak, I ask the Lord every morning, Lord, you're putting us in front of people, show them your light, not ours, but show them your light. Let your word flow through us to help other people who are out there who are lost.
And that's how it's designed to be. He said,
absolutely.
Let your light shine.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes down to your calling and what you're supposed to do, we want to encourage you to really do a deep dive with the Holy Spirit and ask Him, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And if not, please show me what I'm supposed to do. And give yourself that space, but whatever you do, don't give up. Hey, we want to thank you for joining us on this podcast today. Again, I'm your host, Don Boyer.
And I'm Melinda Boyer.
And we'll see you next time.